and power that we live in a nation, state, and county where freedom is a gift to us. We ask for your spirit of counsel to conduct business in righteousness, for your wisdom to deliberate in a way that brings equality to all, for your protection to discharge the duty of our office with honesty, integrity, and to the best of our abilities, and for your mercy so that the people of this county can continue to enjoy the blessings of life. We pray to you forever and ever. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
These proceedings are being recorded for the sole purpose of constituting the accuracy of written minutes. Tapes are reused, eliminating recorded records of these proceedings. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held September 12, 2019.
So moved.
second motion.
Mr. O'Gore?
Yes.
Mr. Gerhart?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes. Are there any guests concerning county business at this time?
Christopher Savage. Good morning.
morning.
Commissioner, could you read anew, please, the policy for a public comment before I get started? I just want to make sure I'm within those parameters.
Which part in particular are you looking for?
What we're allowed to speak to.
Which part?
That which we're allowed to speak to. I couldn't find the policy online, so I didn't read it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I apologize.
See, the rules.
Here you go, Mr. Lukasevich.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't have
Trying to
time to
think.
read it right now.
No, it's recognize individuals wishing to offer comment, require identification, which you do.
Great, sir.
Allocate enough time, which is 3 minutes we give.
Okay.
And rule out scandalous, impertinent, redundant comment, or any comment to the disconcertable purpose to which or is to disrupt or prevent the conduct of business in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner O'Gore, the next scheduled election board meeting?
It's not scheduled yet,
Is it?
Chris.
Yeah.
It will be when Lisa gets enough poll workers that
Okay.
we need to take action
Could we
on.
also get that on the county calendar? I know you might be advertising in the newspaper, but the
Sure.
changes aren't going on the calendar that a lot of us access.
I'll make sure that's on.
Are taking places.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Tommy Gerhart, we talked last week about food and financing for the kennel. So how much is provided for food for the shelter animals per year?
I think that's redundant. We had that discussion last week.
No, you didn't answer the question. I asked how much is allocated in the budget to feed them. There's a problem that it appears it is living on donations and we're not funding an essential government service. Essential government service is what government provides.
Okay, what else do you have to complain about today?
No, it's not complaining.
I'm not
I'm
going to
asking
answer
for
your question.
information.
Move on. I'm not being interrogated by you week in and week out.
So
Okay?
you don't
I'm
answer
done
questions
speaking
from
to
a
you.
private
I'm
citizen?
done speaking with you. The end.
Yeah. Most of the food, just for your knowledge, Mr. Lukasevich,
Yeah.
most of the food is donated by outside organizations, producers of food.
So is there
Second
any
story.
reason why we don't fully fund the shelter? If
No,
it's an essential
it's just the
government
cost.
service, which is a
No.
premise that we work under,
No.
we should fully fund it. We fully fund every other organization. They may accept donations, but they're fully funded. They can operate without it.
Okay, can I step in here for a minute, Ron?
No, I
Oh, wait,
believe.
1 second.
No, I would like...
1 second, Tom.
Wait.
Please.
I think it might be a matter of just communication, because as you know, there's a line item in the budget.
There is
It is-
$5,000,
it-
food and supplies.
So it is fully funded. The salaries are paid for the director, everything is paid, it's funded. It's just that there are donations made from outside entities, and it's not that the county is soliciting outside identity, but these companies that
With
produce the
respect,
food and everything-
solicitor, money is handled by the treasurer, the controller. I'm not asking a legal issue. Commissioner
understand
Notstein appropriately answered my question, and I appreciate
Mr.
you
Sheehan.
doing so.
Okay, Chris, I think I might be able to give a little bit more clarity to this. At one point, first off, Carbon County is probably one of the only counties that actually runs an animal shelter. Most of them are SPCA type organizations. Up until about 2009, 2010, the county used to have an agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture that monies that came through the county the previous year for dog licenses would be returned to the county in order to fund the animal shelter. The animal shelter was originally built with monies that were put in a trust from Gladys Moulthrop,
Yes.
and we had to save that money for years and years until we were able to build the shelter. Also, what happened in 2010, I believe, there was a shortage in the Pennsylvania budget, and Governor Rendell took $4 million out of the dog law restricted account. And when that happened, the Department
You've got years in public service. Same thing, you probably put a millionaire could put that effort someplace else.
Which,
But seriously, you know, between your stuff with the fire companies and so on, and county commissioner, so thank you.
thank you.
And I think I stand for a lot of people in the county with the thank you. Tom, I gotta give you credit. You've done a lot of good work here. You worked with the Democrats, and you did a lot of good. So also, a big thank you for your years of service.
Thank you.
Now, and Tom, I tell you what, I gotta give you credit. The nonsense you've been putting up with in your job, and your wife is putting up with, I'd have to double down on my Prozac to stand down.
Mr. Dubkowski, we're gonna have to watch what we,
Yeah,
stick to the county business
right.
and
But anyway,
view that. Okay? No further business, meeting adjourned. Okay. Now, Jen, did you step later?
Yeah, I will.
You will step. Okay. Okay, you ready then?
You doing
Do you want the media or
media
me?
first?
Okay, we can do the media quick, before, I know Mr. Steele is here, Hank Steele from, our actuary, and I don't know how long that'll last, but, does the media have any question, Dominic? At this
I just
time?
wanted a comment or just information on this 23 acres recreational area.
Recreational areas, it's, right along the river, between the river railroad tracks. There's no area, not an area big enough to put up any type of structure to you
Phase 3 is asking for this crossing at Tannery Road. Is that an increase in traffic or a new route that this stuff is going to be brought in to Palmerton? Or is
We
there
actually
another-
don't know that, Bob. I think we're notified of their application to DEP,
Uh-huh.
so we don't comment on it, but
No.
that's, the data goes to DEP and what's contained in that actual application.
But, you know, like I said, it's been creeping up. It's higher than you've been.
Well, we were so used
You've
to
been
it
used
being
to,
low
yes.
and being none.
Yes,
You know,
that's part of the problem.
Deal.
It's not a problem, but I mean,
Yeah.
you do get used
it's
to
a
it.
change, yeah.
And it is a factor. Some of these other items I just wanted to get out on the table here. It is a factor that we look at. Like, in our minds, we like to see the ADCs stay as uniform as possible. We don't want to see them too high, we don't want to see them too low, because that's what creates problems in our view. So like, when there is changes coming, we try to keep that in mind. We try to do things that we can keep it as level as possible. So that is something we look at. As far as the budget, that was the other thing. We are working on estimates now, so if I can get your latest assets through. That we have that don't put at least most of the ADC in. Some don't put the whole thing in. I would say maybe of the clients we have, there may be 3 or 4 that, you know, are kind of down at the other end of that. But in general, counties are in great shape in general across Pennsylvania. Cash flow purposes. And when you look at that, you can see you have about 1.7 million coming in and about 5.3 million going out. So about 3.6 million additionals coming out of the fund that's coming out of investments. And of course, we talked about this before. That's one of the arguments for possibly lowering the interest assumption that we use. We're still using 7.5% to value this plan, to discount the liabilities. But the trend in general than I was expecting, at least. It's raising county's liabilities by about 5% totally. And that's about where you'll get hit. So you have liabilities of $80 million. You're going to add another $4 million to that just by implementing that mortality table. The teachers is even worse. Teachers must live longer than everybody else. The one we would use would be the general table, but even that, it's quite an impact.
We just adjusted the mortality table.
Not too long ago.
Just a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Or it would have been worse.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot worse, yeah, because, I mean, it was good that we moved when we
The old
did.
table went back to the 1980s.
80s, yes, yeah. And that was fairly significant, but not like this. In the future, but at some point there's going to be more pressure, like outside pressure, on us to do it, and not just our industry pressure, but also your auditors are probably going to be looking at it more closely. At some point they're going to point to it and say, why aren't you using the most up-to-date mortality table? So far, most auditors that do Pennsylvania county plans haven't been that active or aggressive looking at it, but it's out there, and you see it from time to time. So there's that. Of course, if you lower the interest assumption like we talked about before, that also is going to raise your liabilities. So and up there pretty high. Now, that being said, there is something that we can do to offset it, which I've mentioned in the past too, offset it somewhat, and that's to discount how we value the accumulated deductions that are in your plan. We have done that this year for a few counties. And basically, and we do it that way for GASB's report, because GASB wants it done that way. So we've been reluctant in the past to do that for the funding report, but because GASB requires it for the No, not really. I mean, it's more conservative, I think, to show it at the actual value, which is why we did it that way. But it's perfectly reasonable to reflect it that way if you do indeed earn the 7.5%. If you don't, then you're not going to have enough in there, relatively speaking. But that's true anyway. It would just be, you'd be that much less than you would have been. You do have to pay them out, though, whatever the value of their accounts are. So, there is that. The way that works, and we've done quite a few, so it's kind of, there's a pattern. There's this range of 4 to 5.5%. The bigger that gap is, that's one thing you might want to consider.
Well, what do you do there, Hank? Is that something that we ask you or we recommend?
Yeah, I mean, we would probably, when we look at it, we'd probably look at both to show you the difference between what the impact of it would be at where you're currently at, or if you lowered your crediting to 4%, say. It would give you a bigger gain, that's all. It's a one-time gain, it's an actuarial gain that you also amortize over 15 years. impact. There's other factors to it, not just that, because the normal cost also goes up, because now you have a normal cost for your accumulated deductions, but you also have an offset from expected member contributions, just like you have an offset for your expected county contribution every year when you go to do your gain and losses. So there's more pieces to it, but in general, that's basically what it is and what you're doing. So once again, I mean, we're not sure. Like, we have to look at each county, and we have to. I would prefer to do it after we do the vals for next year, like when we have to update the data and have the actual data for next year report. But then we can compare and see if there's one thing or two things that we could possibly do, to see how. Relatively speaking, would you be able to budget that amount, do you think, around that amount going forward?
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a fringe benefit that gotta be paid for, and
yeah.
so if that ends up being the funding amount, I always recommend that, you have to. And the big thing is, and I know it's difficult to get an estimate, sometime in October, and that's what happened last year based on the most current value of the portfolio, and then December came and
Quarter.
Last year was.
And it was a huge negative last year. It was down 10%. So
the combination of those two is what.
Yeah, I mean, when you drop your assets that you're using $2 million for value, for the estimate, that's a big difference, and that's why it was that much higher. Going forward, I would expect it though. Now that you're using this average, the impact shouldn't be the same. Like you wouldn't see ADC's been creeping up because you can see 10-year average, 7.5%. You're right at the assumption, which is why the longer, when you look further back, you're doing really well. More recent history, not as well, relatively speaking, but part of that was because of those years on the Act 44. I mean, it's going to, it's being more conservative and lowering the interest assumption because you are going to have you do need more cash around to help pay those benefits out.
So let me ask this, is it, this number here, I see the number of employees, is it also the salaries? Because
a lot. So there's that. The things that you can think about doing that some counties have done that doesn't help you right away, but in the long run would help. Of course, you're on the 160th class. We talked about this before too, which is the highest benefit level. It's 1 2/3% times final average salary. You could consider lowering the benefits that you offer to your employees to the 170th or 180th. It is a good benefit. There's no question. Our old plan that they terminated at Hay Group was 1.5% the final average pay.
What are the school teachers right now?
I'm not sure where they're at, but theirs is high, and the I would say the
God
state.
knows.
What's the
He's on the
percentage?
school board here in Jim Thorpe, and what is your,
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah, I'm
2%,
sure.
something like that.
And the state legislators and judges, I believe, are over 3%.
Gary, do you know what your contribution is?
Which is really high.
For the retirement fund?
To stay with the DB plan, because I think they're recognizing the benefit that they're getting, which it's good benefit, no question. And you're crediting at 5.5%. Like I said, 5.5% is really high. It's high. I mean, that's great for your employees, as long as you can continue to afford it. Some people want to lower it just because it's they consider the benefits high. My opinion is, if it's a great benefit and if you can afford to pay it, fine. It's like cost of livings. Some counties give cost of livings fairly regularly. As long as you recognize that you're adding to your liabilities and you're willing to pay for it, there's no problem. pension at 55 is just, in this day and age, as long as people are living, it's unrealistic. I mean, you could be retired longer than you worked to accrue the retirement, which is it's just not the point of retirement plans. That's not how it's supposed to work.
How about vesting? Did you ever talk about?
Yeah, we talked about vesting wasn't being changed, except we wanted to require 5 years of vesting in order to get a benefit. So right now, if you're age 60, we had agreed on the changes, and somebody wrote it up. And I believe they had found somebody, that's the last I heard, but I haven't heard anything since. So I don't know if they're working on a bill or they're just, thinking about it. Some of the other items, yeah, and some of the other items were to put these other things into the code, like we talked about this, the lowering of the benefits. Like I mentioned in the past, it's not really written in the code. Like you can raise your benefits, like you go from 170 to 160, but it doesn't say that you can go from 160 to 170. So it was putting it in the code itself. Unions first to kind of get them on board before they attempt it. That might be wise. But no, I haven't heard anything since. There is still some interest in possibly